Vanguard's 2023 report shows that retirement plan participants aged 45 to 54 had an average balance of 168,646. The median was way down at 60,763, but we're going to go ahead and use the average balance, 168,646. Now we're going to go through the numbers here. So we got 160, let me see if I got this right, 168,646, 168,646. That's the beginning average balance. And we're going to have this at age 45. And we're going to go through from show you the difference between age 45 and going up to age 54. We're going to have somebody that's making $60,000 a year that can invest 10%, which should be $500 a month. We're going to increase that by 3% a year. So we're going to go ahead and start running the numbers there. And we're going to say the average Social Security payment at age 67 is $2,000 a month, which if you retire at age 62, you get $1,400 of that. So we're going to go ahead and do this from age 45 on and see how it would have worked out in the last 100 years if you have expected expenses in today's dollars of $5,000 a month. $5,000 a month over the next 17 years from age 45 to 62 would be $8,264, of which $2,130, since you're taking age 67, you're going to need $6,134 from your nest egg. Now, what we do on this channel is use the actual returns for the last 100 years from the S&P 500, and we simply project what similar returns might do for you in the future, which results in a possible range. Now, we're going to be looking at the worst case scenario in this column right here. We're going to look at the worst 5% in the last 100 years. In other words, 95% of the time you'd have more than this. And we're also 10%, worst 10% of the last 100 years. So hopefully this makes sense to you. Now, in the worst case scenario, given this scenario, you'd be out of money in 15 years if you took Social Security at age 62. Watch how these numbers change. This is the numbers you want to be looking at. The worst case scenario, the worst 5%, and the worst 10%, and also the worst 20%. But let's go ahead and change this to age 63. Now your money's lasting, in the worst case scenario, at least 24 years, and the worst 5% is lasting over 40 years, so you have no problem. Age 65, lasting over 38 years in the worst case scenario. So if you would have this scenario, 168,646, and contribute 10% of somebody making $60,000 a year, $500 a month, increase that by 3% a year, you would have no problem in every scenario if you waited till age 64 to take your Social Security. Age 65 would definitely put it over 40 years. So let's go back here. That's at age 45. Remember this statement right here, age 45 to 54. That's a huge change from 45 to 54 with these numbers right here. Let's go ahead and change this to 46 now, which would mean one less year for Social Security and one less year for this 500 to grow. Now you're out of money in the worst case scenario. If you take it at age 62, you're out of money in 11 years. 5% of the time, you'd actually be out of money in 17 years. Let's go ahead and change this to age 63 and see how these numbers, these are the ones we're keying on. Worst case scenario, worst 5%, worst 10%. Age 63, if you waited to take it, now you're worst case scenario, you're running out of money in 16 years. Worst 5%, you're running out of money in 27 years. How about taking it at age 64? Look at that, folks. In the worst case scenario, money's lasting, running out of money in 26 years, but worst 5%, your money's lasting over 40 years. Let's go ahead and change this now to, that's age 47. Now I'm going to take it to age 47. Now you're running out of money in 8 years. That's in the worst case scenario. You can see the numbers starting to show here where the red's showing. In other words, after 15 years, which is age 47 to 62, you would have this kind of money, $359,000, and then you start taking this $5,762 out. And in the worst case scenario, again, this is the worst case, you're going to be out of money in 8 years. 5% of the time you'd be out of money in 11 years. 10% of the time you'd be out of money in 15 years. What if we do age 63? Watch how these numbers change. Getting better. You wait till age 64. How about wait until age 65? Now you're over 5% of the time you're failure rate, you're still running on money. Your money's lasting over 40 years, and only in the worst case scenario are you running out of money in 28 years. That's at age 65. Again, that's age 47 to 65. That's allowing 18 years for this Social Security to grow and your this $500 a month to grow. Let's go ahead and go back to this. Let's go to age 48. See how each year we go up, it's getting worse and worse for this age, taking it at age 62. Now you're running out of money in 7 years in the worst case scenario, and the worst 5% of the time you're running out of money in 9 years, and the worst 10% of the time you're running out of money in 12 years. But let's go to age 63, see how these numbers across here change. Wait till age 63, your money's lasting 9 years in the worst case scenario, age 64, 13 years in the worst case scenario, and age 65. Now your worst case scenario, your money's lasting 20 years before it runs out in the worst case scenario, and 5% of the time you're running out of money in 33 years or less, but 95% of the time your money will be lasting over 33 years, and 90% of the time you'll be lasting over 40 years. That's taken at age 65. But again, we're looking at age 48. Again, we're using the numbers, the average right here, average balance between 45 and 54. We're just trying to show you that that's a huge discrepancy between age 45 and 54 because you don't have near enough time when you start going out here. Let's go ahead and do age 49 now. 49. Now you're running out of money in 5 years. Again, this is the worst case scenario. The worst 5% of the time in the last 100 years, you'd be out of money in 7 years. The worst 10% of the time, you'd be out of money in 9 years. You can see that's taken at age 62. Let's go to age 63, 7, 9, and 13, age 64, 9, 12, and 17. Finally, at age 65, you're starting to look pretty good. 90% of the time, your money's lasting at least 33 years. But see the difference between age 45 and 49? Let's go ahead and go to age 50. Go back to age 62. Worst case scenario, we're running out of money really fast. You can see these reds are really starting to mount up because you're taking Social Security just 12 years from now, and you just have 168,000 saved up. And we're taking into account this 2,000. But let's go to age 63, age 64. Again, keep watching these numbers right here. Age 65 and age 66. Age 67, now you're over 40 years. So if you age 50 and have these kind of numbers, you might need to wait until age 67 to start taking your Social Security and retiring. Then you'd have a 95% success rate of your money lasting over 40 years. Let's do one more thing. Let's go up to age 54. Again, we're trying to show you that this is too wide of a range to be running numbers. The average balance right there. So if we use those numbers and you're already 54 and you want to retire at age 62, there's a year in the last 100 years where you'd run out of money in 3 years, 5% of the time you run out of money in 4 years, 10% of the time you run out of money in 5 years. In other words, 62, if you're at 54 and you have this kind of a balance, putting in this kind of money, you're going to run out of money really soon. Let's take it at age 63, see how these numbers change. They didn't change much. 64, 65, 66, and 67. Finally, at age 67, you have an 80% success rate of your money lasting over 40 years. Again, this is taken at age 54 with this kind of a balance. You might have to go age 68, age 69, you're finally over 40 years. So if you could allow it to accumulate for the next, from age 54 to age 70, that'd be 16 years. This would be growing and this amount would be growing. So you finally have reaching a success rate over 95% of the time lasting over 40 years. And even in the worst case scenario, your money would be lasting over 30 years. But then that's such a wide range from age 45 to 54. I'd like to see the numbers for the actual breakdown by years. But hopefully this makes sense to you, showing you that there's a huge difference between age 45, having this kind of a balance, going at age 62. Then you'd be lasting, again, we saw this 15 years, 99% of the time, money would last at least 15 years if you have these kind of amounts at age 45. But folks, that's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people. We set up spreadsheets to show you where you might be. We use actual returns for the S&P 500, and we simply project ahead what similar returns might do for you. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Please share this channel with others. Let them know there's a channel out there that will run numbers for people, and we'll try to answer some of these questions of how long your money might last if you have this kind of money. But you can see the importance of, yeah, if you have this money at age 45, it would be a lot better shape than if you wait till age 54 to have this kind of a balance. And we didn't even look at the median amount. If we started running these numbers, you'd be running out of money really soon, unless you increase this right here, 500, or you have this kind of money at an earlier age. Again, that's what we do as channel. We run numbers for people. Please consider subscribing, and please like, and thanks for watching.